as we enter into the book of Devarim or Deuteronomy, or words, it's appropriate, I guess, that we begin this book at a time and we begin a new journey here today. Crossing over, looking at Promised Land, goodness knows what. And as we enter this book and as we start the journey through it and embark on our journey through it with Moshe, through his words to the children of Israel. These are the words of one who knows he has little time left, and the words of a leader who also knows he will not be accompanying his brethren into the Promised Land. These are the words of a leader who knows very well the shortcomings of the people of Israel, obviously having dealt with these people over a number of years. No doubt, Moshe, through all this time, through all his experiences and through all the experiences of dealing with Israel, would have both laughed, and we know, I think, that he both cried as well. He had some unbelievable, as with Israel, experiences, both good and not so good. We too have had some unbelievable experiences, both good and not so good, and this will continue. He would have seen the growth and would have been so happy on occasions, seeing the growth in the young and the decline in the not so young. He would have seen this both physically and spiritually. We know this because a certain generation was not allowed to enter into the Promised Land. So Moshe would have had these mixed, I guess, emotions, strong emotions of, on the one hand, seeing people's growth, as I said, and on the other hand, seeing decline. Then the moment arrives, and we read it again in Devarim or Deuteronomy 1:1. These are the Devarim, or these are the words that Moshe spoke to all Yisrael on the far side of the Jordan, in the wilderness, in the wasteland, opposite Suf, between Paran and Tophel, Lavan, Kataros, and Di Zahab. Imagine for a moment the pain, I guess, Moshe was feeling at this time, not being able to enter this Promised Land with his brethren. And I guess we may also imagine, and perhaps I'm putting feelings into Moshe, but I think it was coupled with frustration as well. For many reasons. The frustration of Israel not behaving itself, the frustration of being allowed to go, as he wasn't going to enter the Promised Land. At this point of the journey, I don't know that we can imagine it. Like last week, there were some emotions poured out as we left to come here. Imagine Moshe at this point in his journey, with all of Israel and what lay before them. This leader, the leader of the nation of Israel, not just somebody who's with a family or whatever. This was the leader of the nation of Israel, chosen by the Most High God. And the circumstances that it came about the emotions that come with wanting something. Have you ever had the emotion of wanting something? And perhaps even feeling as though that you need this. I need to get to the promised land. Perhaps. And yet not being able to have. Have you ever had the emotion of really wanting something and yet not being able to have? And this isn't just hubby or wife or dad or granddad or boss saying, no, you can't have it. This is the Holy One of Israel saying to the leader, no, you won't be entering the Holy Land. And I believe this emotion is somewhat evident in a verse that Chris read out in chapter 1 obviously, but verse 37. The Lord, Hashem, was also angry with me for your sake, saying, even you shall not go in there. What a thing to have to say. What was he thinking? The Jewish commentators have many reasons why Hashem wouldn't allow Moshe into the promised land. And they don't all agree on it, because they don't all agree on a lot of things, as everyone else doesn't agree on a lot of things. Some say it was because Moshe what? Struck the rock twice, as recorded in Numbers 1 to 12. Chapter 21 to 12. Others say he was negligent in how he gave into the spies' requests and in the manner he gave the orders. This is what the Jewish commentators say. So they say he didn't do the right thing by giving in to them, and in the manner he gave the orders was in a manner that they could do nothing else but come back with this so-called bad report. Others say it was because he failed to sanctify Hashem's name. And this is pointed out in Deuteronomy 32:51. Because you transgressed against me among the children of Israel at the waters of Meribah Kadesh and the wildernesses of Zin, because you did not you did not sanctify me in the midst of the children of Israel. This is another reason the Jewish commentators give for not allowing Moses, Hashem not allowing Moses into the land. But nonetheless, regardless of the reasons, we might have a look at those a little bit better next week. Behind all these troubles, I think there is no doubt it is because of the sin of the spies. Let me propose a question to you. What may, can't say what would have, but what may have happened if the spies were one with Caleb and Yehoshua? What would have happened? I dare say, and I think we can confidently probably say, that Israel would have conquered the land under the might of who? Under the might of Hashem. With who leading them? With Moshe leading them. What a difference. What a difference. So this sin of the spies had very, very, very serious repercussions. Can we grasp fully the repercussions that resulted from the sin of the spies? I'm not sure that those of us sitting here today can actually grasp the full weight, but we may by the end of the day, we certainly should by the end of the book of Deuteronomy. We weren't there, we're not involved in this emotional roller coaster ride of Israel, but it certainly had very serious repercussions. So the question again, what was the sin of the spies? What were some of the missing ingredients, I might say, in their lives that caused this sin? Most would answer, if I asked that question, what was the missing ingredient that caused this sin? Most would answer, and perhaps you would answer, and also I would answer, because it's correct in some regard, it's lack of faith in Hashem. After all, did not Hashem say to Israel that he was going to give, that he, the Holy One of Israel, who controls, who made heaven and earth and all that is in, who's created every one of us, did he not say, I'm going to give you this land? Give it to the sons of Israel, this land of Canaan. Did he not say that? So if he is all-powerful, if he can do this, and they've seen plenty of rescue and miracle, I am the one that brought you up from where? From the land of Mitzrayim, from the land of Egypt. All right. Let me ask another question at this point. Even if our faith or belief wavers, which it surely does at times, our faith and belief wavers at times, what is the ingredient, or one of the key ingredients, that will overcome that wavering? It's ahav. It's love. Which means, again, you remember, devote completely to another. And it's a directive that Moshe actually gave, and we'll skip forward a couple of chapters in Deuteronomy 11. Let us remind ourselves. 22 to 23. Let us absorb these two verses. You go home and absorb these. If you carefully keep all these commandments which I have commanded you to do, to ahav Hashem your God. It doesn't stop there. It says what? To walk in whose ways? To walk in his ways. And to hold fast to him. Then Hashem will, what then? What comes after that? Then Hashem will drive out all these nations from before you, and you will dispossess greater and mightier nations than yourselves. Joshua also has something very similar to say in chapter 22, verses 4 to 5. And now Hashem your God has given rest to your brethren, as he promised them. His promises are true. Now therefore return and go to your tents. What was the words that Moshe said? Something about people in tents mumbling and grumbling, and Chris's read. Go to your tents and to the land of your possession, which Moshe the servant of the Lord gave you on the other side of the Jordan. But take careful heed to do the commandment and the Torah which Moshe the servant of Hashem commanded you, to ahav Hashem your God, to walk in some of his ways, every now and then, walk in what you choose. No, walk in all his ways, to keep whose commandments? Some institutions' commandments, the Pope's commandments? No, to keep his commandments. To hold fast to who? To hold fast to him. To serve him with all your heart and with all your soul. I haven't got the words to fully explain the attachment between Hashem and this land called Canaan. This land called the Promised Land. This land called the land flowing with milk and honey. This land that we call what? Eretz, Yisrael.